Are the Ravens in trouble? This is a big question for the AFC. I don't think the Ravens, based on what I've seen, not just versus New England, because I don't think we should overreact to one game ever, no matter the result, but it's stacking up at this point. Like, it's becoming very, very concerning. The Ravens are extremely, extremely flawed for such a good roster. They have really a bad offensive line. Their offensive line is not performing well. Their best offensive lineman is injured. Lamar Jackson has been solid, but not spectacular, which he was last year, to overcome it. The wide receiver play is not good. Marquise Brown has been an extreme disappointment. Marquise Brown, huge disappointment. Doesn't even deserve the Hollywood nickname right now. Mark Andrews, if he's your number one threat, it's not a threat to a defense. You need more than him. I mean, nobody's scared of Willie Snead, okay? The run game is okay. It's good, but it's not all-time special the way it was last year. So they're forced into some more awkward positions from a passing perspective. Just the fact that their passing game is so bad is very concerning. And their defense, they're missing a couple guys. You know, like Calais Campbell's a big loss. If they have him, they might even beat the Patriots, I think, because that helps them versus the run. But without him, they are getting gashed on the ground on a per carry basis. And their pass defense is really good. But I just feel like everyone kind of saw what the Ravens were last year. And now people and teams are adjusting to what the Ravens showed what they were last year. And they didn't really change anything. Now, I think the people that were banking on the Ravens this year was seeing that they would be better because they would evolve, not necessarily because they would stay the same. And the problem in the NFL, you're always going to lose if you stay the same. And that's exactly what the Ravens have done. They have not added a layer to their passing game. They have not added a layer to their running game. They have not added a layer to their defensive scheme where they're very blitz reliant. They're very aggressive. And teams can take advantage of that with the right personnel. So the Ravens have the flaws they had last year, except now teams know how to defend what they're great at, and then they don't have the same personnel. They don't have as great of tight end play, all right? Their offensive line is missing a Hall of Famer and an All-Pro. Their running backs, Mark Ingram isn't playing like a beast he was last year. The defense, secondary is still great. Front seven has more talent, but it's been injured. Injuries happen in the NFL. So the Ravens are a good team. I think if they can get a passing game going, they'll be a tough out. But they have so many clearly identifiable flaws that are really hard to overcome. It's not like their flaws are meaningless areas of the game. Like, their flaws are their punter is like subpar. Like, their flaws are that, okay, their run blocking isn't great. Like, I'd rather be a team like the Bills, who are very flawed, but in the opposite way. Okay, the Bills, they can't really run the ball. They can't really stop the run. But the Bills can pass the ball so they can score more points, okay? They're a better offense than the Ravens. This is the fundamental conversation of the NFL right now. If I was good in any area, I would like to be good passing and stopping the pass. The Ravens are bad at passing the ball. Like, not just bad, but like really bad. And I don't think it's necessarily Lamar Jackson's fault. Like, last year, they were kind of average. They were actually extremely efficient in this area. They were really good in this area. But when you're such a bad passing team, and then your running game isn't as good or not as creative, and teams can take advantage of you and stop what you've been doing, like with New England, their offensive line is so good that it doesn't matter if you know they're running to the left, because they can still block you. But the Ravens, it's not the same. Even though they have Lamar Jackson. So it's kind of an interesting conversation of like, the Ravens expected to be as dominant as they were last year, rolling out the same scheme without adjustments and losing good players. Like, that's not a thing that can actually exist in the NFL. That just doesn't happen. So that is what I see in the Ravens. And this isn't just from one game. I saw this in the Colts game. I've seen this in games even versus like Washington. We saw this. Like in games where they dominated on the scoreboard, where it wasn't necessarily a dominant win. So the Ravens, like, I'm not trying to bash the Ravens. I'm just putting it out there. They're a good team. But to me, I've said this before in weeks past, they are no longer an elite team. They have crossed the line from they are guaranteed top 5 contender to, okay, now officially they are like top 5 in the AFC, not top 2, okay? And I'm just kind of disappointed because I have respect for Harbaugh. I have respect for the Ravens. I think they're an extremely intelligent franchise. I think they are one of the best run teams in the NFL from season to season over the past decade, over the past 20 years. They have been at the top of drafting. They have been one of the smartest teams in acquisitions and trades. They have been one of the best teams in terms of roster talent every year. And they are always tough. And they bring a brand of football that's difficult to deal with. But this year, I'm disappointed with how they've adjusted. Last year, they adjusted phenomenally, and the NFL didn't have an answer until they fell on their face. This year, everyone's had the answers, and their talent has not been able to overcome that. And that's the problem. That's the problem. They need to go back to the drawing board with the offensive approach, with the defensive approach, and add layers to their game. Just like we had the same conversation with Sean McVay and the Rams last year. And that's where the Ravens are at right now.